Hello and welcome to episode 14 of the Miles and Goggles Show. I'm your host, Miles. Across my screen, we've got my co-host, Goggles. How are you doing today?
Pretty good. It's been a long week and a half, I'd say, since we did our last episode, but it's been good.
Yeah, it's been a little minute. Schedules have been crazy. Of course, Thanksgiving a while ago. It's just been crazy, but we're finally here. We're finally getting another episode, and hopefully, because we keep saying we're going to try to be more consistent. Hopefully, we'll be good this time. We'll be fine. We'll be fine. But for this episode, since it's been a while, and since we have passed the quarter mark of the season, um, we thought it'd be a good idea to give our quarter one power rankings of every team, so you can get a chance to talk about every team just for a little bit. So we'll go from 30 to 1. And of course, we got some news that we'll get to, but we'll get to that, when we get to the team that it pertains to. So, Godwin, let's start at 30. Let's start at the bottom. Who is the worst team in basketball right now?
I think it's by far the San Antonio Spurs.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, not even close. They're 29th in offense, 30th in defense. They're on an 11-game losing streak, and they're looking like what we thought they were going to look like even after that hot start.
They're tanking. They're definitely going for Victor. I mean, if there's any team that's going for it, it's definitely the Spurs. I mean, Devin Vassell and Kelvin Johnson have looked good. Jakob Poeltl as well. But just obviously a developmental stage for the Spurs, and it's clear that they're looking to get Victor Wembanyama in the draft lottery. There's not really too much to say about these bottom teams. So I guess let's just move on to number 29. 29, I have got my playing hopeful Orlando Magic.
That's where I have them too. They're just like they've looked pretty good. I mean, when Paolo plays there, they're doing pretty good. He's obviously looking like probably the best rookie in the league right now. When he's played, but they're 27th in offense, 27th in defense. So they're not the worst on either side of the ball, but
They're
pretty
bad
close.
still. I mean, they're still not that good.
Yeah, they're
Um,
5 and 19. Like, they're also on a big losing streak. It's just
yeah. Couple great things to see. I mean, we mentioned Paolo Banchero has been terrific. Bol getting opportunity to get a ton of minutes, and he has stepped up. He's been so impressive when he's gotten the chance to play.
yeah.
Um, I mean, that guy is just is so impressive. Like the way he can handle the ball at his size and even shoot. I mean, it's so impressive for Bol.
Yeah, he's kind of like the current version, I guess, of Victor, or at least a little bit worse than what like Victor's ceiling is, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And then another thing too, Markelle Fultz coming back. Has played 3 games so far. It's good to see him back. They're finally starting to get some of their injured guys back in the lineup. Cole Anthony just returned. He's looked pretty solid. Had Mo Wagner come back. Only one is still your favorite, Jonathan Isaac. Will he ever return? Is the
He's
question.
he's like what Kawhi is turning into, but he's been like it for longer.
Yeah.
I don't even know why everyone's like excited to see him play. I don't I don't care anymore.
Yeah. Moving on. Who do you have at 28?
28, this is where I have Houston.
Okay.
I think
Okay.
they're definitely tanking, but they're also playing their young guys a lot, and their young guys are showing amazing flashes. Jalen Green is looking a lot better than he did last year, especially in the efficiency category, and he's scoring more points, facilitating a little more. And I think Kevin Porter Jr. is also taking a little bit of a step up, and so is Şengün. So
Yeah,
it's just
Şengün's been great.
not more.
Jabari Smith's had a couple good games recently after
Yeah, he's heating up.
abysmal start, but he's looked solid in the last few games. I mean, like we said, these bottom feeder teams, there's not going to be a ton to say. But I mean, there's definitely things to appreciate and look forward to with these teams.
Yeah,
My 28, I had the Pistons here actually.
that's
Um,
fair. I have them at 27.
okay, yeah, the Pistons. I mean, just a young team as well. young scrappy team. They've had some decent games. I mean, earlier, when their guys were injured, but I mean, they're definitely a bottom feeder as well. I mean, they're a team that people similar to what I thought the Magic would be. Both the Magic and the Pistons, both are at the bottom. That's definitely, I mean, that's not a bad thing. They definitely need to develop their young guys more. And that's what they're getting to do this season. So, do you have anything else to say on the Pistons?
Not really. I mean, they haven't had Cade that much. He's been injured, but they're still looking pretty good. Like it's just a lot of development, and then kind of just letting Bogdanovich do his thing.
Yeah, pretty much. 28 or not 28, 27 is where I had the Hornets. I know you said you had the Pistons, but I've got the Hornets at 27 just because LaMelo's been injured. He's only played 3 games. Gordon Hayward has been injured. I mean, and they just have they have a lot of solid players that I eventually want to see get moved to better situations so that their talents can be used for winning and not really whatever's going on in Charlotte.
Yeah, like Scary Terry and mainly Oubre, who's been playing really, really well.
Yeah, Oubre's averaging nearly 20 a game.
It's just good to see because I like Oubre.
It's cool, but they definitely have a lot of guys that they could move at the trade deadline.
Yeah, another
Um,
one of those rebuilding teams.
yeah.
I'd say
Um,
after this, we're kind of getting like,
we're getting to more solid teams.
because I have Charlotte at 26, and then after that, like it's more solid teams.
Right, because I had Houston at 26. And then I mean looking at the standings and the records and all that, it's kind of crazy looking at like the percentages because after those bottom 5 teams, the winning percentage, it's like a 6% difference. Like it just goes up a bunch.
Yeah.
So I guess 25. Who do you have at 25?
At 25, this is where I have the Chicago Bulls,
Me too.
the struggling Chicago Bulls.
They're a team that like, so they're obviously in the middle right now, or well, I guess not really the middle. They're outside the playing picture, but they're a team that's in that middle where it's like they're led by older players, I guess, with DeRozan, Levine, and Vucevic. So there's not much room for them to grow other than they just like to win unless they want to blow it up. And there's definitely been some reports and speculation that they might try to blow it up at the trade deadline after the season, what have you. So I don't know. The Bulls, just a weird year so far. They've been a really like when you say teams or players are mid, that's the Bulls to me.
Yeah, they're 9 and 14. It's just their offense. They've been playing good defense. Like they're the 12th ranked defense, but their offense is 25th, and I think that's something that they need to kind of start doing better. Like because they have it's either like one of their guys plays really well or none of them play really well,
Yeah.
and that's something like because Levine had a really good night. I think it was last night. He had
Yeah,
didn't
I watched that
40 last night.
I watched that Sacramento game and it was just Zach Levine and no one else really showed up at all.
And I mean, like that's just what they can't have. Because like DeMar has also had a couple games like that this year where he's just gone insane, but nobody else helped, other than like Vooch a little bit.
Yeah. So do you think that they should look to make a trade at the deadline to try and blow some stuff up? Because, well, it's weird to say that because it feels like they just assembled this team like 1 or 2 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, if they keep the struggles up and they're like really far below 500, I would try and make trades.
I would too, because it's not like this team. It's like I don't have faith in this team that they're gonna like be a contender to win the title in the future with DeRozan and Levine as the core.
So that obviously sparks the question, like, could like people are saying that they would like to see DeMar go to the Lakers, but what about Zach Levine? I think that would be even better for them because he's a sniper from 3. He can create his own shots, and he's not the best defender, but that's why they have their defensive anchor in AD. So it's like I think he'd be a way better fit than DeMar on that team.
Yeah, see, that's an interesting point because it's like you asked that question like 2, 3 weeks ago. Yeah, I'd probably look to do that, but we'll get to the Lakers, of course, later. They've been playing fantastic basketball as of late. So it's like, do you make changes right now because you're playing so well?
Yeah,
So I mean that's a question that they can worry about in the future. But the Bulls just disappointing year, really. Moving on at number 24, that's where I have the Thunder.
that's where I have the Thunder, the 1.5-man show.
Yeah, it's been Shea. Shea continues to be a superstar out there for the Thunder. He's putting up 31 points per game on 51% shooting.
And I say 1.5 because Josh Giddey's also playing pretty well.
Yeah,
I
Josh
mean, other
Giddey
than
is
that,
too. And we can't forget Western Conference Rookie of the Month, Jalen Williams. I saw that and I was like, wow, I didn't realize that all of the really good rookies were in the East.
except
This
for
is like
Eason
Keegan
and
Murray.
Keegan, and then Jabari.
True, yeah. Because I mean, like, because I've been thinking there are a lot of solid rookies in this draft class, but it's like all the big names that have been playing well are in the East, like Paolo Banchero, Jaden Ivey, Benedict Mathurin. It's like,
Yeah,
I guess it doesn't help that Jabari Smith hasn't been that good, and then Chet Holmgren's been injured.
yeah, that's very true. I'm
But
excited for when
just
Chet comes back.
just an interesting point that I've noticed. Um, Poku's been good. I want to shout out to
Booker has been
Poku.
good.
He's been solid. But I mean the Thunder. I mean, still, like playing above expectations. They're 10-13. Um,
Definitely a lot higher than we thought they would be, and that's
yeah,
because of one man.
it's
Because of Shea.
crazy for like the differential. I guess it's not that crazy. I was gonna say for a team that's only 3 games below 500, you wouldn't think that'd be like 13th in the West. I guess that just shows how solid the West is.
Yeah.
Um,
So at number 23, this is where I have the New York Knicks.
I do as well. We've had a very similar list so far. I kind of like it.
I think I'm definitely spicing things up a little bit in the future.
Yeah, well, so the Knickerbockers, well, see, I'm a little salty towards the Knicks because of the Cavs game last night where it was just horrendous for both teams. The first, when I just mentioned the amount of travels, I don't know if you caught that game.
It's not even just that game. They've been calling a ton of travels recently in general.
I think the number was they called 14 travels in that
Yeah.
game, which is the most in the like since they started tracking it. That's just a lot. And I mean, like, I know that people complain a ton about like the amount of travels that don't get called and the stuff that gets away with it. But it's like we're so I don't know. Would you rather some players get away with it most of the time or have a game like that where there are like 14 turnovers just off of travels? It's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I
But I
guess
mean,
what I'll say about that game, then we can move on, actually talk about the Knicks. At least they call it fairly for both teams. They were very consistently calling the travels.
yeah,
But actually talking about the Knicks.
I think it's a two-person show.
Yeah,
I
me
think it's
too. Me too.
Randall and Brunson. I think RJ Barrett's been terrible.
He has been awful. Just
I
efficiency wise, he's just has not been good this year.
I mean, he got a huge deal and he's not playing well at all. He's like, well, I forget what like the actual stat was. It was like he was shooting like 20% in his last like 70 shots.
Oh, I did see that stat too. Yeah, it's definitely been a struggle for RJ Barrett as of late.
And I think he
And
could
it's
pick it
also
up.
been a struggle. I know you have the ratings. Where are the Knicks ranked in defense?
They're 23rd, which that's what really surprised me because you would like it's a Tom Thibodeau coach team. You would not expect them to be bottom 10 in defense, but they are 15th in offense. So it's like it's interesting because obviously Thibodeau known to be a defensive minded head coach. They just don't look like they don't look like they're performing to where they should be right now in terms of defense.
Yeah, it's something that shocked
essentially.
me, to your point is, watching the Cavs game last night, the broadcast kept talking about how, um, well, eventually the game last night would be the first time that they held an opponent to under 100 points. They'd given up 100 points in every game this season until that Cavs game. That's 20
That's unacceptable.
took them 24 games. That's crazy for, I mean, a Tom Thibodeau coach team. I mean, looking at like Nick's Twitter or whatever, they had an embarrassing loss to the Mavericks just on Saturday. There could have been a real possibility that if they lost that game to the Cavs, that that they could have fired Tom Thibodeau. And because of the agency, he's on the CAA agency, and the whole front office is basically with that too. You could have seen a lot of major changes with the Knicks front office had things gone differently in that one game. So Knicks they're just a mess once again, but they're still in. They're 10th in the East. I mean, they aren't total garbage, that's for sure. But like they need more guys to step up other than Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson.
Yeah.
Moving on, number 22 is where I have the Washington Wizards.
Same here.
Yeah, the Wizards, they've got 3 20-point scorers, Beal, Kuzma, and Porzingis. They've looked solid.
Outside of that, though, there's really nothing.
No, and they're just 1-6 in their last 7 games. So I mean, they're coming back down to earth just a little bit.
And I know Beal got injured last night in the game,
Yeah, against the Lakers.
which, I mean, didn't even matter because I was already down 400. But
Oh yeah.
he's been playing very well. He's been leading that charge. And then Porzingis set a career high in points last week. He had 44. That was a great game. And I think they're gelling, but it's just like there's not a good roster outside of those 3.
Yeah, it's
And
another team similar to the Bulls where they're just in the middle and not much room to go anywhere.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm being quite honest, in the offseason, Bradley Beal is a free agent, and it's been coming out a lot because I guess he said in an interview that he stayed with the Wizards because no contenders or whatever were available for him to go to in free agency.
Mhm.
Honestly, for the Wizards' sake, you probably would prefer Beal to have left so you could just start losing.
Rebuilding.
This is a team that really, they've been in the middle for the last few years, but they have not been bad enough to just go all out and lose.
I can't even remember a time when they were top dogs, obviously with John Wall, but even then, I'd still consider them kind of a mid team because they didn't do anything in the playoffs when they got there.
Yeah, and then it's also in that time period when were they ever bad? It's like their draft picks as of late, it's been Rui Hachimura, who, has turned out to be a, very solid player. But who else? You got Denny Avdia, who's a solid defender. You've got Corey Kispert, who's having a terrific year shooting the ball. They drafted Johnny Davis this year, who hasn't played that much. But something in common with all those players, they're all role players.
Yeah, they haven't drafted a
They
star.
haven't had a chance to get that star. So
yeah, I mean they had the chance for Tyler Hero, but they chose Rui 1 pick before. Or was it 1 pick or it was a couple though?
Yeah, that hindsight is 2020 in that because that's either way that's still late lottery. And I don't know if people were expecting Hero to be like the player he is now.
Yeah.
But they're just a team that's just in the middle, and it's hard to see where they can go from here. It's just a weird situation.
Yeah, and that's kind of the same with who I have at number 21. I have Minnesota.
I have Minnesota as well.
And I think they're just going to keep going down because as of last week, Karl-Anthony Towns went down with an injury.
Yeah, that was really unfortunate. I'm happy that it's nothing more serious than it was because he was just running down the court and he did the old look behind like he thought someone hit him. No one was back there.
Yeah, so with the right calf strain, 4 to 6 weeks, which I mean, it is what it is. There's nothing they can really do about it other than they just got to keep playing hard. But since he's been injured, the guy that's been kind of on my radar and somebody who I've been very impressed with is Jaylen Nowell.
Yeah,
He's been taking a step up. He kind of jumped up into that scoring role, and he's been having a couple 20 point games, which has helped them. But also they're 19th in offense, which is still like it's kind of weird, but that's what comes with like having like Rudy Gobert as your center and then having Karl Anthony Towns get injured. And then but they're 15th in defense, which you would think with Rudy Gobert that'd be a little bit higher since he's so good, but he hasn't been that crazy defender that we usually see this
yeah.
year.
I
Shaquille
saw
O'Neal.
I saw something on Twitter. I can't remember which player it was comparing to. Maybe it was like Christian Coloco, but it was like, imagine trading 5 first-round picks for Rudy's defense when there's a rookie averaging more blocks than him right now.
Yeah. And Walker Kessler too. Walker Kessler's he's leading rookies in blocks right now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Which he was part of the
Minnesota,
deal.
I've just been really disappointed with Minnesota. I mean, Ant has been terrific. I'd say he's been their best player.
Yeah, I agree.
Um, it's just I really wanted to see more from this team right now. And a point
had
that I
such an
kept
easy
talking
schedule to
about was
start.
their schedule early, and they basically got the easy portion of their schedule out already. It's hard to see them making up a ton of ground right now, even though I'm sure they're 11 and 12, 11th in the West. So I mean, I just hope that they can turn around because I mean, on paper, this team looks like it could be dangerous. I mean, you look at all the offensive pieces they've got.
D'Lo and Jalen Noel, I'll say now. Cat, Rudy Gobert at some points.
Jaden
I mean,
McDaniels having an efficient year. Like, you would just want to see more from this team.
yeah.
Um, Moving on, number 20. This actually, I feel like they're going to have this team a lot higher than I do, and it's been the surprise of the Eastern Conference. I have the
Is it the
Pacers.
Miami Heat? Oh,
I have the
yeah,
Pacers.
I do the Pacers a lot higher. I have
Yeah,
Miami Heat.
Pacers, I mean, they've had a very solid year. Obviously, they're the biggest surprise in the East, being 12 and 11 right now. But something that I had to take into account is the fact that they have played a very easy schedule. And it's like the teams that I have ahead of them, they've played harder schedules with better rosters than the Pacers, even though the Pacers have been very well rounded. I mean, you just look, Tyrese Halliburton has been unreal. He's been one of the best point guards in the league. Buddy
Benedict
Hield is doing
Mathurin,
his thing. Benedict Mathurin has been one of
MT.
the best rookies. Miles Turner, Jalen Smith, and the rookies too, Andrew Nemhard. So it's
hit the
like,
game. He's the one who hit the game winner against the Lakers, right?
yes. So it's just, I don't know. The
It's
Pacers
been
have been
surprisingly
very
quiet though.
surprisingly good. It's just hard for me to see them keep going, especially since they've had
Yeah.
such a lax schedule.
And the crazy thing is, like, we haven't even heard much from like Chris Duarte. Like, he's been kind of quiet too.
He's been very quiet this year.
But this is where I have the Miami Heat. I just
Okay.
think, obviously, with Jimmy's injuries and everything, he hasn't been playing every game, but Bam's been playing really well when Jimmy's been injured.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna step it up but for now, I can't really put them much higher, just because they haven't been the best team offensively. I mean, their defense is still pretty good. They're 11th, but 23rd in offense, and that's not gonna cut it. They need
That's
to step.
definitely fair enough. I mean, a lot of that is definitely due to their injuries.
Yes.
And you see Jimmy coming back and just taking over and closing that game against the Celtics last week. But yeah, Bam has looked terrific. I mean, he's been very impressive. 21 points per game for Bam. Heroes looked solid. Max Strus is putting up 15 points per.
That's very surprising.
But yeah, they're a team. I've got them a little higher. I don't think I have them incredibly too much higher. Yeah, I don't have them too much higher. But yeah, the Heat are just a team that it's like, where are they right now? They're 9th in the East. They're 11 and 12. I mean, they're in that playing picture. Do you think they'll get like super higher? Because obviously this team last year, they were the 1 seed. They made to the conference finals, but
They're not gonna. I
definitely a
don't think they'll
different
finish
team.
past 5. I don't think they will finish past 5. I think
Yeah,
their ceiling is 5.
because looking right now, I don't know what teams they would jump in the standings at this point. I
Not
mean,
Boston, not Milwaukee, not Cleveland.
everything else is up. I mean, I think they definitely will jump Indiana and maybe Brooklyn, maybe Toronto. I don't know. It's
Yeah,
just,
we'll just have to see.
yeah, we'll have to see. 19 is where I have the Dallas Mavericks.
This is where I have them, and this is one of the weirdest teams. Like looking through all their games and everything with their box scores and their offensive and defensive ratings and everything. Like it's a weird team. They're 11-11, but they're 9th in offense and 8th in defense.
Isn't that weird?
It's very weird. Because it's a one-man show basically. Like at least on offense over
It
there.
is yeah, it's definitely a one-man show. And the thing that I'm sure is frustrating for Maverick fans is their losses have come to teams that aren't like at full strength most of the time. Like they lost to the Pistons when they barely had anyone playing. Other losses they got. I know they lost to the Rockets, didn't they? Yeah, they lost to the Rockets.
Best team ever.
But like the Wizards, they lost to the Magic, the Thunder. Like,
They're beating the good teams. It's weird.
I mean, you talk about a team playing to their competition. It's this team.
So I think if you're a Mavericks fan, you're kind of hopeful right now. Like I think I wouldn't be panicking. I'd be like, this is kind of a good sign because they're beating all the good teams. So that means come playoff time, they're probably hopefully going to be scary and playing good against the good
Yeah,
teams.
it's just the one-man show thing. It's got to be a little bit concerning.
And Reggie Bullock has to start actually not learning how to shoot a basketball.
Oh my gosh! Hey, Tim Hardaway's coming back. He and Bullock were both awful,
Yeah.
but Hardaway's coming back a little bit. Reggie Bullock, not so much.
I mean, Luka's averaging 33, 9, and 8.
It's
That's
crazy.
ridiculous.
Would you? I mean, do you think Luka is your MVP?
No.
I mean, I agree, but because I see a lot of people still have him number one, and I'm like, yeah, he's been great, but it's also
He's
like
even top 3 for me right now.
the team is 11-11.
Yeah. No, he's not even top 3 for me right now.
Wow. Yeah. So I mean, the Mavericks, they're just so weird because I don't know what they could do to get better.
Yeah, I mean, they're 9th in offense and 8th in defense, and they're still like 500. It's very weird.
They're also losing close games too.
And Christian Wood is very inconsistent.
Yeah. Yeah, he is, man.
But coming in at number 18 for me,
Did you
This is
give your 19?
19 is Mavericks for me.
Oh, right. Okay.
So 18 for me, I finally have to put them on here. It's the Lakers.
All right. Yeah, I've got the Lakers at 17. We can talk about them now. I have a ton of notes for the Lakers.
Two words: Anthony Davis.
It's AD's team. It's finally his team.
And LeBron is still putting up his numbers. It's perfect. Russell Westbrook's playing fantastic off the bench. I mean, Lonnie Walker's putting in the work night after night. He's having good nights almost every night. It's a fun team to watch.
Anthony Davis has just been amazing. I mean, they're
55 last night, and then in the game before that, he had 44.
I mean, you look, so they're 8-2 in their last 10 games. In that stretch, AD is putting up 35 points per game, 15.5 rebounds, and 3 blocks. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Over that stretch, he's probably been the best player in the whole league.
I agree with that. Either him or Jason Tatum.
Yeah.
But it's fun to watch. They play fun basketball. And they're winning.
It's a lot more fun when the shots are going down. That's for sure.
Especially it's helpful when the media is not slandering them constantly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I'm definitely interested to see how they'll perform. I guess tonight, by the time this comes out, it's Lakers, Cavs in Cleveland, LeBron back in Cleveland. I'm always curious to see how he'll kill us. Just in Cleveland.
He'll kill you by throwing 20 assists to Anthony Davis.
20 assists to Anthony Davis. Yeah, that sounds about right. But yeah, the Lakers, it's like I saw another thing on Twitter. It's like I've never seen anyone get I've never seen everybody get so excited over a 10-12 team in my life. Because it's
I
like
love it.
everyone's like, oh my gosh, this team is back to title contender status.
I could see that happening.
I could see it happening, but it's
Like,
like
especially if they make the playoffs as like a 6 seed and then they take down like a 3 seed. I could see them doing that.
it depends on the matchups. That's how it's gonna be in the Western Conference. Cause it's like, I mean, you look at the standings now, it's still like really close. But you still have like Golden State is a 6 seed right now. Um, I mean,
Like, I honestly
everything
think
just seems so skewed because Sacramento is at 5, and we'll get to the Kings later.
like, I feel like the Lakers would like, I think they would crush Denver in a 7-game series.
Oh, you think?
I think Anthony Davis would put clamps on Nikola Jokic.
That would be a great series to watch. That's
'Cause
actually
I think Anthony Davis is the best defensive player in the league right now, by far. Like, I don't even think it's close.
yeah. Well, in this 10-game stretch for sure.
Yeah. So at 17,
So
have
my
another
so
elevation.
so my 18 is where I had the Brooklyn Nets.
Oh yeah, I got them a couple spots higher
Yeah,
because they've been playing a lot better.
the Nets are just still weird to me. It's like they just were on a nice little winning streak. They were on like a 4-game winning streak, and they're looking pretty solid. KD is still looking like amazing. He's still putting up his 30 points per game. Kyrie's been solid. Seth
Claxton's
Curry's
been
put
good.
up some big games lately.
Claxton's been good the whole season.
Claxton, yeah.
Although
Um,
Ben Simmons did get injured.
yes, he did.
Big surprise.
Yes, big surprise.
But he was starting to pick it up.
He was for sure. He was for sure. But yeah, Brooklyn. I don't have too much to say about the Nets. It's just like it's gonna
Are they
be
your
like
17?
where are they placed in the standings by the time the playoffs come, and how will they play in certain matchups, and if Durant will request a trade afterward. Like, I don't know. I don't have too much to say about the Nets.
Yeah. I mean, so you have the Lakers at 17. I have the other Los Angeles team at 17. I have
Ooh, the
the
Clippers.
Clippers. Because they've been struggling a little bit more recently. Obviously, Mr. Mushroom Man, the fun guy Kawhi. He just doesn't even know what it's like to play basketball anymore. I mean, they're 28th offensively, and yeah, they're 6th defensively. But you gotta score points too.
That's bad. I didn't realize they were even that low.
28th offensively.
I mean, this team is still so deep. They're still playing solid. Like Paul George has been great still.
Is Kawhi playing tonight? He's questionable for tonight.
Oh, he's questionable. Who are the Clippers playing tonight?
I don't know. He's probably gonna injure his knee either way.
Let me see. The Clippers are playing the Hornets. He
I
should
would
play
I would
this. He'll probably play. Well, just be prepared because they have a couple back-to-backs coming up, so he'll rest. But
wish I could rest this much.
I know, right? But yeah, the Clippers definitely a team that like they need to have time to gel together in order for me to be fully convinced with them. But they're still a really deep team. They're 11 guys deep at least. And Zubats has still been terrific.
Doob.
Starting and all that. As they're
He
setting
had a
off,
career
Powell's
high
been
in
good.
rebounds. He put up 29 rebounds.
That was unbelievable.
Yeah,
Against a Pacers team with a solid center.
and guess who was playing him in fantasy that week? This guy.
You live such a rough life.
At least Dame's back.
Yeah, at least Dame is back. We'll get to the Blazers a little bit.
This guy can save me now.
So
16.
16 is where I had Miami. We already talked about them a little bit.
That's why I have the Philly 76ers.
76ers, okay.
They're gonna jump up for me like next time I update this because I just think I was going a lot by record and I actually want to switch 15 and 16 because 15 is where I have Indiana. And I think I can move Indiana down a couple.
Okay.
I mean, Joel Embiid's doing his thing. Harden's going to be coming back any day now. and they're without Tyrese Maxey as well. Tobias Harris has stepped up.
Yeah, they're just a team that they need time to gel.
Another center.
Yeah, and another center because I mean, their backups are Montrezl Harrell and Paul Reed. I mean, they're just not.
Don't forget PJ Tucker.
PJ Tucker averaging 3 points per game in 28 minutes.
The defense.
Yes, the defense. Oh man. But Shake Milton and DeAnthony Melton have definitely stepped up for them with the guard
Milton has played
absences.
so well.
Yeah. All right. So my 15, I have the Toronto Raptors right in the middle. Raptors they're just the Raptors. They're a tough physical team. Pascal Siakam has looked amazing. I mean,
So has OG.
he has to be one of the favorites in top 5 or whatever for defensive player of the year because he's been
in mine.
terrific. Yeah. Freddie hasn't been all that impressive. It's been Siakam, OG. It's been Siakam and OG really, and then the other role players stepping up as well because Scotty Barnes hasn't looked too terribly impressive in year number 2.
I'm sensing a trend with some of these Eastern Conference rookies from last year.
Well, Mobley's been very good lately. We'll get to Mobley.
I know, but I mean, who's been the best this season for that draft?
Oh, who's been that's actually an interesting question.
Only one right answer.
Oh, would you say it'd be Jalen Green?
Yes. No bias, of course.
That's actually an interesting question. I mean, it's tough with that because it's like Jalen Green and Cade, yeah, they're putting up numbers, but their teams are garbage. But then Barnes and Mobley, they're doing it for teams like Barnes is doing it for a playoff team. Mobley's doing it for a contending team with title aspirations. So it's like, it's tough. But I would probably say Jalen Green's been the best player from that class.
Darn straight.
This year, that's an interesting point. 14 is where I had the Sixers. We already talked about the Sixers. Who'd you have?
That's where I have the Nets. I had the Nets just a little bit higher.
Oh, you had the Nets here?
Just because they just got TJ Warren back, who's starting to look decent. Obviously Kevin Durant exists. He's pretty good at basketball. Kyrie's pretty good at basketball, and I think Nick Claxton's a good defensive anchor for that team. It's paired alongside.
Yeah.
And Royce O'Neal has also looked very good.
Yeah, he's been a very good connector for them.
Yes. And Ben Simmons. I mean, even Ben Simmons when he was last playing was looking very good. So I think this team could be a scary team come later in the season, especially when Ben gets fully back into it. Now, playoff Ben's a different story.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to see what happens and who they get matched up with. Because I mean, the way it's looking like they'll have to go in a play-in tournament. And just the way it's looking, they're in a really tough spot. I mean, the East is so loaded.
I would prefer if they started losing.
You really don't want to be in the lower, like, you really want to be in the top 4 if you want to have a chance in the Eastern Conference, because going up against mainly a Boston and Milwaukee in round 1 is going to stink. And even the Cavs, I think. I mean, that would stink.
Playoff Donovan Mitchell's really good.
That is true. I mean, teams are not going to want to have to deal with defensive-minded groups like the Celtics, the Bucks, and the Cavs.
Yeah, especially if Brooklyn has to run into Boston again. That's not going to be good for them.
No, I mean, they just lost to them yesterday. But yeah, moving on at 13, I have the Utah Jazz.
I have the Raps here.
Okay. Do you have anything more to say about the Raps?
Not really. I mean, like you said, it's the Pascal and OG show, and then kind of the supporting cast. Chris Boucher looks pretty good.
Who?
Chris Boucher has been starting to pick it up a little bit. Yeah, he did not have a good season last year.
Yeah. Utah has had that great start. They've kind of come back down to earth a little bit, but they're still just a really solid team. I mean, they're 3rd in the league in offense. I mean, 25th in defense. That's where they struggle. But I mean, you look at their roster, you don't really see many other guys other than Jared Vanderbilt. That's like a good
Walker Kessler.
Well, yeah, Walker Kessler, and then Sexton's a pesky defender, but it's been the Lowry Markkinen show and the Jordan Clarkson show some nights, and then it's been whoever between the Kelly Olynyk's, Malik Beasley, or Colin Sexton, whoever else wants to show up with that group. So it's still been a very fun team to watch, the Jazz, because they just play so free, because on most nights they have nothing to lose, really.
Yes, exactly. Because especially when Minnesota keeps playing bad.
Well, yeah, that's true too.
But I mean, yeah, I have them at 12, so I have them one spot below.
Okay, and then 12 is where I had the Clippers. So
Yeah.
we can go into our top 11. 11 is where I have the Portland Trailblazers.
Same. We were talking about my guy Dame finally coming back, but more importantly, we need to talk about Anthony Simons and Jeremy Grant.
This
Who've
team,
both been
they have 3 guys putting up over 23 points per game. That's just unreal. I mean, I'd like to go back and see when the last time was that happened, because not even like the Warriors with Curry, Durant, and Clay had that happen.
and they still are only 11th in offensive rating. And defensively, they still struggle. But I think they're a fun little team to watch. I think Dame's gonna keep bringing them up, and I think they're gonna be borderline playoff team or like 5th or 6th.
Yeah, the thing with them is they don't have too much depth. I mean, their starting 5
No.
is very solid, but you look at their bench. I mean, it's like
Drew Eubanks.
Drew Eubanks, Justice Winslow, Shaden Sharp has been impressive as a rookie. That's really it. I mean, Gary Payton II has been out the whole year. He hasn't played yet. That's going to be a nice addition. But
Especially
it's
on
like
the defensive end.
they don't have much depth other than their starters. So like when Damian Lillard does go out, you might struggle a little bit, because you're just going to run out of bodies quickly with this type of team. But now we can get into our top 10. Number 10 is where I have a team that's been in the news a lot, I guess, the last couple days, and that is the Atlanta Hawks.
Oh yeah, I have them at 9.
9. Okay, so the Hawks I have at 10. We might as well go over it now. It's been the biggest story of the league the last couple days, and that's Trae Young and head coach Nate McMillan having an exchange at the Hawks shoot around on Friday, where Nate McMillan was upset that, I guess, with Trae Young's recovery from his shoulder injury. So because of that, Trae Young just didn't go to the game.
Bye.
Yeah, I mean, very, very interesting scenario.
I have beef with the Hawks.
Who in particular?
DeJounte and Trae.
Why? Because they tried to hurt your Rockets?
And then they lost. It was really funny. That made my day. They were talking so much smack, and then the boys came in and rallied. And then waved them goodbye. I loved it.
Oh yeah.
They should have taken a bow.
But yeah, Atlanta, it's just, I don't know what exactly to think of the Hawks, because it's like DeJounte and Trae, the numbers look good. John Collins his numbers have not.
DeAndre Hunter's looking pretty good though. He's playing pretty well.
And something that's kind of jarring is John Collins' 3-point shooting. I mean, he used to be considered a legit stretch 4, like 40% 3-point shooter, shooting 22% on 3 attempts per game, and he's getting some pretty open looks.
Yeah. And I mean, the weird thing is the Hawks, even with these 2 superstars in their backcourt, and then DeAndre Hunter putting in points and John Collins, they're still only 20th in offense, but they're 9th in defense, even having Trae Young on your team.
Yeah, it's strange. I mean, looking at bright sides, it's probably been DeAndre Hunter and rookie AJ Griffin.
Yes.
But it's so John Collins, it seems like he's been in trade rumors for years and years and years. I think this is the year that it finally happens.
Yeah.
It's just the question of where would he get moved?
Miami could use him.
Yeah, I mean, blaring teams would be the Heat and the Suns.
Yeah.
There's
I
teams
don't
that
know
could,
what those teams would
just
give
teams
up.
with an open vacant spot at the power forward position.
And then like Phoenix could put in Jay Crowder to the deal.
Yeah, he could come in and he could be an older version of, or an older and worse version of DeAndre Hunter.
Yeah, I mean, I think I have my number 10 too low.
Well, who do you have as your number 10?
Golden State.
I've got Golden State at 9. So
Okay.
I've got two major notes with the Warriors.
They're starting to pick it up. They're starting to look good again.
Well, so number 1, it's been the incredible discrepancy between their starting lineup and their bench. Their bench, no matter who has been on the bench, has been awful. It really is strange. I was looking at their stats for this. Their starting lineup of Steph, Clay, Wiggins, Draymond, and Looney, they are the only players on the team with a positive plus minus. Everyone else is negative because it's all their bench players.
Yeah, Jordan Poole has not looked good at all.
No, he's not. I mean, on the bright side, I mean, Steph has looked great. Wiggins has been fantastic, and Draymond Green's quietly having one of the most efficient years of his career.
I hate Draymond.
Yeah.
I mean, they're Golden State. They're good every year.
Well, I mean, the other thing that's kind of alarming, and I have the same thing with another team that we'll get to later. It is the total difference between the way they play at home and on the road.
Oh yeah.
The Warriors are 11-1 at home, which is the best home record in the league. 2-10 on the road. And looking at the ratings, I know you have. What are the Warriors' ratings?
They are 7th in offense and 20th in defense.
Okay, so I looked at the splits, the difference between home and on the road. So at home, the Warriors are 6th in offensive rating. On the road, they're 15th. Goes all the way down to 15th. And
man, they suck.
The defense, it's complete. At home, they have the second best defense. On the road, they have the second worst. That's crazy.
That sucks.
It really is. And it's not like the Warriors have played a ton of like crazy road teams. Like looking at their schedule, I know
the Beam team.
Who were their two road wins against? They were against what, Houston and who else?
Oh, big whoop. You beat Houston in Houston.
Yeah, and exactly. It's Houston. Like it's nothing crazy. Oh, and then that crazy win versus Minnesota. Two teams that have struggled.
Yeah.
And then other losses, who they lost to? I mean, they lost to the Suns, but I know they've lost to the Hornets, the Pistons, the Magic, the Heat. I mean, it's been horrendous.
I think Steph should just retire.
I mean, Steph's just looking fantastic still. I mean, he's putting up 31 points per.
Yeah, he's pretty good at basketball. So I think we should move on to number 8.
Okay, yeah, we can move on to number 8. Number 8 is where I have
the Beam team.
Light the Beam is who I have at number 8.
The Sacramento Kings.
The Sacramento Kings, the 8th best team in basketball.
4th in offense, 16th in defense. And Keegan Murray isn't even playing that good.
This team just has so many weapons offensively. The Kings
Malik
are so
Monk,
much fun to watch.
De'Aaron Fox. Sabonis has been playing fantastic. I mean, it's crazy. And they have great depth. Kevin Huerter as well.
Kevin Huerter, Malik Monk off the bench is putting up 15 points per game.
Terrence Davis poured in a 36-point game as well in there.
Yeah.
This team is weird. I love it.
I mean, do you think that this team is a legit, I don't know, legit like title contender, but do you think that this is a legit playoff team? Because I mean, they are 13-9, but I mean, we've talked about it before. They lost their first 4 games. I remember I remember we were talking about like overrated teams because everyone was hyping up the Kings coming into the season and they started 0-4. And I was like, ha, I was right. The Kings actually stink. But they're 13-5 since. Do you think that this is a legit playoff team, or do you think that this is just a hot start to the season?
I don't know if they can keep up defensively. That's the one thing. That is the only thing I think they
Because
could be.
this offense, honestly, the Kings offense, it hasn't been this great because they haven't had a roster that's been this amazing, but they've put up high scoring numbers in years past.
Okay, think about this for a second. If you're them, I would move Sabonis to the 4, and I could see them being like a dark horse, like Miles Turner trade partner with the Pacers.
I don't know if you would
'Cause he
do
would help that team.
Sabonis, and I don't know if you would do Sabonis and Turner again though, because they just did that in Indiana and it didn't work.
Yeah, but this time you have an elite point guard, I think. Not elite, but elite.
It is true. You have an elite. You do have like an I'd say De'Aaron Fox so far has been an all-star caliber player, especially with the Kings being this good. You have Kevin Huerter. I don't know if those Pacers teams had that like type of shooter on the wing.
Buddy Hield.
Because they traded Buddy Hield for Sabonis
Oh my gosh, you're
along with
right.
Halliburton. I don't know. I don't think Miles Turner would end up on the Kings because
I would just like to
try it
throw
and
in
it
the
didn't
four.
work. But it is interesting. Sabonis at the 5 has looked really good. I think if you're the Kings, you just keep rolling with this team and see how far this can get you. And then this offseason, depending on how stuff could go in the playoffs, if they somehow can keep it up and make the playoffs, then you can reevaluate and try to make some moves to jump up earlier, because they do have solid pieces if they wanted to make a trade to get better.
Yeah. So at number 7, I got the Grizz. This is where I have the Grizz.
I do as well. I have the Grizzlies here.
And it's crazy. They're 14-9, and they're without their second best player.
It's just more of the same from last year.
Triple J's been playing well. Obviously, Ja is pretty good at the whole basketball thing. Desmond Bane helped them get off to a hot start, which I think helped their confidence a lot and just has helped them stay hot, even though he's been injured. And I think they're a pretty good team. I'll say that.
They are a pretty good team. I mean, what are they? Are they fourth in the fourth in the Western Conference right now? West just has a ton of depth.
The East is top heavy, West is depth.
Well, it's also weird because the East, a lot of the teams that we expected to be in the top are in that bottom play-in picture, like the Nets and the Heat a little bit.
Yeah.
And then the Sixers even are 5th. Moving on to number 6. Number 6 is where I have the Denver Nuggets.
Yep, exactly.
They have so much offense. Yeah.
In defense.
They're bad in defense, but I mean their offense. They have the perfect balance on offense of the connectors and scores. They have 7 guys averaging double-digit points per game. Jokic is putting up 23, 10, and 9 on 60% shooting. He's on pace to become the first player to do that in NBA history.
He also on Basketball References now moved up to the number 1 MVP spot.
Oh, really? Wow, interesting.
Controversial.
Jamal Murray and Michael Porter have looked great coming back. Aaron Gordon's having a terrific year efficiency-wise.
I guess he had his best week against.
Well, we have Bruce Brown as a connector has been good. Bones Highland off the bench is putting up 14 points in 20 minutes. The question with this team is going to be their defense. And we know Jokic is durable, so it's usually never a problem. But if Jokic were to go down, it's a scary sight when you've got to throw DeAndre Jordan out into the game. What?
DeMarcus Cousins, sign him back.
He would fit great.
The Taiwanese MVP, greatest player of all time, Dwight Howard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wake up in the morning, I just see those stats. I'm like, what's going on? What
Yeah,
have I
just
missed?
pulling up for threes, handling the ball on a pick and roll. It's like, what is going on?
It's ridiculous. So now, it's the top 5.
Top 5.
Give me the Nola here for number
Okay.
5.
Okay.
6th in offense, 3rd in defense. They are playing fantastic.
They really are. I mean, I have the Pelicans at 4 actually. Pelicans,
Controversial.
I just get so impressed looking at their roster. It's like you really don't realize how much talent they have at all of their positions. It's crazy how much depth they have. Like
And
you look at
and
their
like 2
point,
weeks
you look at the
ago,
point guards. They have CJ McCollum, Jose Alvarado just had his career
Grand Theft
game.
Alvarado. Oh my gosh. I have that
Um,
in it's 38 points per game or points in a game. Wait. That's right, I think.
yeah, he had 38 points yesterday against the Nuggets. But even then, you've got Devontae Graham in there, who's we've seen shown to be a lethal shooter, and even, I mean, I'd consider him to be a rookie, or not rookie. I consider him to be a point guard. Dyson Daniels is very solid. I mean, that's just their point guards. Their wings, you've got Brandon Ingram, Herb Jones, and Trey Murphy.
Trey Murphy.
Um, and
He's been
even Najee
fantastic.
Marshall out there under the bench is good. And then their bigs, you've got Zion, you've got JV, Larry Nance Jr. has been terrific. And at the end of their bench, they have Villarreal Gomez, big body, and like
EuroLeague MVP.
Jackson Hayes, who started for them in the playoffs last year. I mean, they're just a
Yeah.
total complete team, and they are legit.
Yes. And Zion isn't even like playing to his full potential, I don't think.
No, I'm really interested to see how this team plays in a playoff scenario. Um,
So I think I know who your number 4 is, or your number 5 is then.
so number 5 is where I have the Cavs.
Yep. I have them
Um,
at 4. 10th in offense,
my
but they
my
are the number 1 defense.
yeah, the Cavs do have the number 1 defense.
Dean Wade's out though, so
The main thing that I have to note about this Cavs team, which continues to alarm me, is
Jitty.
they absolutely need home court advantage in the playoffs because they're similar to the Warriors. They play so differently at home and on the road. They're 10-1 at home, which is second best in the NBA to the Warriors,
I
but
know
they're
why.
just 5-8 on the road. And it seems like, well, I got over this last like week stretch, they cannot hit a shot on the road.
Well, it's because they don't get to dance with Moondog before the game.
Yeah.
That's my favorite part.
But something to note with that, with the home road differential, there is no bigger sign of the home road differential than Darius Garland.
Oh
Because
my gosh.
I was looking at this. At home, Garland is averaging 29 points and 8 assists per game.
Well, yeah,
On
he had
the
that big 41-point game.
51-point game.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
But yeah, at home he averages essentially 30 points and 8 assists. On the road, he averages 16 points and 7 assists. It's like a 13-point differential. That's got to be the largest in the league for any player.
Yeah.
Now, luckily for the Cavs, they have a 7-game homestand coming up. So they could continue the home cooking and they could have themselves a monster record heading into the new year.
They could come in close to Boston.
What?
They could come in like up there with Boston.
Yeah, they definitely could. With the way they've been playing at home, they could continue to play this way. But the road thing is really, as a Cavs fan, it is kind of alarming to me because they look like a completely different team when they're away from the friendly confines. So, something I do have to note, Evan Mobley, with Jared Allen being out, Evan Mobley has been very impressive as of late. He's looked fantastic. He's putting up 17 points and 12 rebounds in the 5 games that Jared Allen's been out.
Like Mobley.
The defense has held up as well. This
Number
is
1 in the
just the
league.
Cavs team that I love watching the Cavs play. I don't know. What are your thoughts on the Cavs since you have them at 4, I'm guessing?
Yeah, I do have them at 4. they're gelling. Donovan Mitchell was that might be the best move that they've made in a long time. Since probably drafting LeBron, honestly.
Yeah,
Like I said,
I mean, it's really paid off dividends. Like he's
and
been
yeah,
so good.
it sucks losing Laurie, but Laurie would not have been what he is right now on the Cavs team this year.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like when I see like the things going on in Utah with like Sexton and Markin and they're looking solid, it's like, man, I miss them. But it's like, gosh, I'm so glad we have Mitchell on our team because he's just on another level.
And he's my best friend.
He's actually my best friend. But anyways,
Has he? I'm not gonna get into this right now.
so now we can get into the top three and something.
This is set in stone.
Yeah, I think it is set in stone. But I'm
There's no
curious to
argument.
ask you. I've got a question. In my opinion, I think that these top three teams, these are the only three teams that I'm like, okay, I'm 100% confident that this team can win it all.
I can say that about the Cavs too.
You think the Cavs could see? I think maybe it's just because I'm a pessimistic fan sometimes, and I feel like I need to see them go through one playoff until like they're ready. I think like next year could be their year, but
Donovan Mitchell's gonna help that with his leadership.
yeah, I hope so. But these top three teams, I just think are on a whole nother level than the others.
Yeah, number 3, at least for me, is the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah, I got the Phoenix Suns here.
Second in offense, 5th in defense.
Yeah. 16-7 record despite key injuries to two starters and Chris Paul and Cam Johnson. And that's just because similar to the Memphis Grizzlies, they could just plug and play. Cameron Payne averaging 15 points and 7 assists since starting. Torrey Craig has stepped in. He's been solid at the power forward position. And then, of course, you still got Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, and Mikal Bridges just balling out.
Would you have Devin Booker in your top 5 for MVP right now?
Yes.
He's my borderline. He's top 5 for me as well.
I would. Just the Suns have just been so good still. Even with the injuries, you got to give Devin Booker some credit.
Yeah, he had the 44-point game and the 51-point game as well, back-to-back nights, propelling them to
Weird
wins.
thing with the Suns though, losing to the Rockets that one game. Just have to say that was a crazy finish.
I gotta say, the Rockets have beat good teams. Like, it's weird.
Yeah, it really is weird.
It's so funny to me.
But moving on, let's go to our number 2. I've got the Milwaukee Bucks.
I was about to say, if you say Boston, you're just crazy.
But Milwaukee, even then, they've been so dominant. And one of their all-stars just played on Wednesday, their first game, or Friday.
And what did AD say to that sweet return? Not gonna happen, buddy.
Not gonna happen. But I mean, their team. They're just the Bucks. They're so dominant. And their starters. I mean, you look at their starters. Before Middleton came back, they were starting 4 legit defenders in Drew Holiday, Javon Carter, Giannis, and Brook Lopez, and you could legitimately make a case to put Grayson Allen and on the bench and slide Javon Carter back in at the 2 to have Chris Middleton start. And you've got 5 legit defenders in that starting 5. I think this is a team no one wants to play the Bucks.
They're still not first in defense, though.
No, they are not. They're not. But the Bucks, they're just so good. I am really hoping that in the playoffs we can get a rematch of the Bucks and the best team in the league, the Boston Celtics, because that would just be pure heaven as long as everyone's healthy.
So that'll just take us into our number 1. We'll talk a little bit about this team. Boston Celtics are ridiculous. They have the best
domination.
Best 1-2 punch in the league, in my opinion.
Best duo.
And then you add Al Horford hasn't been playing that great. They still don't even have Robert Williams back yet.
I mean, something that's crazy. So they're 19-5. 3 of the 5 losses came in overtime, meaning that it's just total domination. Yeah, 2 to the Cavs.
I mean, they're 14th in defense, but they're first in offensive rating by almost 10 whole points.
Yeah, and this is why I think their offensive rating is so high. I did a lot of research. It's been their 3-point shooting, because
Oh
this
my,
is
they've been crazy.
something that's just
Grant
been
Williams,
mind-blowing
Derek
to me
White.
is they're first in makes and second in attempts, but they're first in percentage. And that made me think, like, usually if a team just jacks up a bunch of threes, they're probably not high in percentage, right? So I
Yeah.
went back looking the last 9 seasons. You got last season, Minnesota led the league in attempts. They were 12th in percentage. The year before, the Jazz, they were 4th. They were a really good team. That's when they were the best record in the league. But then you have the previous 4 years were Houston, and they were all in order 24th in percentage, 12th, 14th, and 15th. I mean, just jacking up threes. I mean, and then the only one that was even close to the Celtics and where they are right now is the Warriors in their 73-9 season. They were first in all 3-point categories.
Oh, so you're saying the Boston Celtics are going to go 73-9?
Heck, if they keep playing like this, I would not be surprised.
You think so? You think for the rest of the season?
No, they're not going
54 and
73-9.
4.
They're not going 73-9. They can win like 69-70 games.
And who was the one who predicted them to be very, very good this season?
You did. We gotta give Goggles his credit.
Same with the Cavs.
Well, Cavs, I don't know about 60 wins, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
59.
But you just look at their other role players alongside Brown and Tatum. Marcus Smart has played very well. Horford,
I think they're the
Derek
deepest
White.
team in the league.
Malcolm Brogdon is leading the league in 3-point percentage. He's been so efficient. You got guys like Sam Hauser coming in, firing away. I mean, they're just such a good team.
And they don't even have the Time Lord back yet.
They don't even have arguably their best defender. Well, no, one of their best defenders back, because I mean, Marcus Smart is the reigning defensive player of the year.
Yeah.
But
that was fluke. He should not have won that last year.
But yeah, those are our power rankings. It's been so much fun so far to see all these teams just go at it. Really, the Celtics. When did the Celtics and Bucks play their next game? Because I'm gonna have that game circled on my calendar. For sure. I mean, I know they play the Warriors this Saturday on a primetime game.
Goodness.
Oh, Christmas they play each other, the Celtics and the Bucks. That is going to be a fun game.
Do the Rockets play on Christmas?
No, they don't play on Christmas.
I would not want to see that. I would not want to see that. I wouldn't even watch that game.
There's no way the Rockets were playing on Christmas. You kidding me?
There was a chance.
No chance. Oh my gosh. But do you have anything else you want to go over in this episode?
I mean, we could do awards real quick.
Well, we don't have enough to actually. This Zoom call is actually about to die in a few minutes.
Okay.
But
let's
anything
do
quick you want to go over before this thing dies?
The Horford deal.
Oh yeah, Horford. We should have mentioned 2 years, $20 million extension to stay with the Celtics. I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense. I mean, the guy is very solid. I mean, he's definitely getting up there in age, but he's shown to, even when all else fails, he's becoming a better 3-point shooter.
Yeah.
Um,
He's like a fine wine. He's getting better with age.
Exactly.
Like Justin Verlander. in the MLB.
Yeah.
He just signed a big contract today.
That's going to do it for this episode of the Miles and Goggles Show. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a like, leave a comment on what you're thinking about the season, about all these teams. But from episode 14, I'm Miles.
I'm Goggles.
And we'll catch you in the next one.
Peace.